Hey everyone, it's Luke here from Astro Awakening with a post full moon update. How you all feeling and what has come up for you? Leave a comment below and just let me know what came up for you with this full moon. Did some sort of sludge or mud come up from the bottom of the depths that had to sort of be confronted with and deal with? Are you owning that or projecting that? In other words, is it something you recognize that's within yourself? Or is it, no, it's that person that I'm in relationship with, it's their shit, and it's making me feel a certain way. Are you being triggered? Is someone else close to you that you're in relationship with, are they doing something to trigger you to stir up this muddy, murky stuff? The moon's just moved into Gemini, and Gemini is the communicator, right? And it's going to be trining the sun in Libra. It's an air sign. They're both air signs. Air is the communication and mind element. If you think about air passes past our windpipe and into our lungs, and it's the expression of that air, right, back out, that allows us speech to communicate. So now's a really good time to start the conversation around what's come up for you. Now, if you're in a relationship where you can't get to that place because, it's too conflicting to go there, or there's an issue that hasn't been resolved, then even more reason to actually go there. However, if you can't, then start the conversation with yourself. Start the actual inner dialogue going about what's come up, why has it triggered you, what part of you has been affected. If you're not in a relationship, maybe it's just your relationship with yourself. Aries is the self and Libra is the relationship. But in order for us to have good relationships with other people, we have to have, be grounded and centered and be loving ourselves. It's the love that we can give ourselves that we can't give any more love to anyone else. We can want it and we can search for it, but ultimately it's the love that we give ourselves that we can then give to other people. So maybe there was something that's come up in relation to, your key relationship to yourself. Pluto was squaring this full moon, and Pluto will bring to the surface emotional dysfunctional patterns of behavior. In other words, you do certain things because it's triggered by some subconscious emotional pattern that's been ingrained in you, possibly even before you entered this body. It's like this energetic karma that's come with you to find expression in here and a release point for you. So Pluto has the ability to bring things, into conscious awareness that you're not conscious of. And it's really time to allow space for that to release rather than to repress. Quite often what happens with Plutonic type energy is it comes from such a dark place that it's quite emotionally confronting, makes us feel a certain way, not nice, so we tend to hide it down, and all we're doing is we're suppressing energy. And when we do that, eventually the energy will build again to a point where it has a release. And when we're talking with Aries Libra, the release is within the relationship. Out it comes. Pluto's in Capricorn, and Capricorn's about form and structure. So the very form and structure of your relationship is put under some tense emotional pressure at the moment. And that can sometimes mean that the relationship breaks under that pressure. But often it's a redefinition. It's a redefinement of the relationship. In other words, you're going along, there's some dysfunction within the relationship, and you're not really sure why these things keep happening, or they keep triggering you, or whatever is going on. A full moon like this triggers this emotional dysfunction to really come up to awareness level, right? And it can be confronting, and we don't want to own our shit, so we tend to project it, right? Or we can sort of start to have that inner dialogue with ourselves where we start to go, why am I feeling like this? What is this the result of? Have I felt this before? Right? And allow it some room and some space to allow that energy to flow through you rather than to push it down. If you can get into a situation where you can open some dialogue with the person you're in relationship to and say, look, and the best way to go about that is not to go, you did this or that or this or what, or because of this, and it's more like, no, I'm feeling this way. And it's not a result of something you've done. It's my reaction to what is going on. And, and that's sort of way to get into that conversation around, what it is that's triggered you. And then you allow a space, right? And if you can get that up and out, you allow space for that energy to flow through you and out and to be released. And that's the job of the zodiac, is to create tense energy situations for expression, energy to express through us, instead of being bottled up and repressed. The moon's going to move in the next couple of days into its home sign Cancer, and it's going to be in opposition to Pluto through that process as well. So use this time with the air element to converse, to get the conversation flowing, so that when we come around, there is a release of the emotions that come with that too. In other words, you might get to a point where you say, hey, fuck, I've been a real dickhead because you triggered me because I've been acting this way, and it's conflicting me and it's confronting, and it's something that I used to do in that relationship, or something that I saw my mum do, or mum didn't do, or whatever it might be. And as a result of that, I'm reacting this way, and I actually need to put my hand up and go, you know what, I'm fucking sorry. It's not you, it's me. And and work through that and create a nice trusting, vulnerable space where you can just let your shit out a little bit. Air sign moon at the moment, sun's in an air sign, get the conversation flowing, get the relationship happening. We move into Cancer in a couple of days with the moon in Cancer, and although it's the home sign of the moon and the north node, which is in other words the destiny, in other words we're fated at this moment to feel and allow these emotional expressions so we can feel grounded and safe, it's still going to be opposite the south node, Pluto and Saturn. There's still going to be elements of this. And this is work that we do on a gradually slow process over a period of time. We're coming up to a Saturn-Pluto conjunction next January. There's more of this as the theme. I think the next new moon is going to be opposite the other transformational planet, or one of them, which is Uranus. So, that's going to set the tone for some unexpected rebellion within the relationship, some upheaval. But what you sort of look at these outer planets as what they're doing is they're allowing the current form and structure, right, reality as we know it, to be broken down, to be replaced by something better. If you become attached to the way things are, or if you're afraid of what's coming up and you repress that or hold on to it or attach to the way it is, the more likely that energy is going to break through that attachment, and when it does, it's going to be unpleasant. Which brings me to my final point. I mentioned before about having a better relationship with ourselves, and in the natural sort of flow on from that is better relationships with others. Now I'm talking about on a more larger scale, and the Earth, for example. There's been a lot going on lately with regards to climate change and protests, and a lot of awareness has been raised about the way in which humans are not caring for the Earth, or the effect that they have on the Earth. And whilst I agree with that, and I agree that things have to be done and we have to start doing things differently, and I think protesting is a great thing to raise awareness. If you're out there protesting and raising awareness, but you haven't got a good relationship with your own body, if you're not honoring your own body, if you are protesting and waving your fist at corporations and politicians to change, and you've got to do this and stop doing that, or do more of this, yet you finish that protest and you go about in your life and you eat shitty food, or you watch shitty reality TV, or you fill your mind with the negative news, or you go and you gossip with your friends, or you putting shit and not really honoring your own body, and not really honoring it as being a sacred place and really getting in touch with it, well then how can you ever expect collectively us to do anything positive for the Earth? And the way it works is like this. We're human consciousness and we have a body, right? We have to honor the body and look after it, what we put into that, what we put into our mind, what we physically feed ourselves, what emotions we feed ourselves. That's our responsibility. Collectively, as a consciousness, human consciousness, it also has a body, and it's the Earth. And we can't expect collective consciousness ever to look after the earth unless individually we're looking after ourselves. We're watching what we put in. We're not being wasteful, greedy. We're not being gluttonous, and that doesn't mean food. That can mean any type of energy, right? It's all energy. Any energy that we put in, we have to start making better personal choices. Now you might say, oh yeah, but what about all those people and all those people and all those people? Well, when you're projecting out like that, you're just being a victim, and then you are helpless, and then there's despair, and then there's the screaming at the corporations and the politicians. We're at a point in humanity, we cannot rely on corporations or politicians, which are the same thing, working for the same people for the same end, which is greed, money, power, wealth, control of everything, right? Your freedoms, your liberties, the land, control of everything. We can't turn to them and say, oh, please help us save the world. No, we have to individually do that. We have to be the change we want to see. That's how this game works. That's how we change consciousness. We raise consciousness by individually raising ours, by looking after our well-being, our body, honouring in that. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's not. It's the way that we move forward. So I'm not saying don't protest. I'm not saying, that things can be done differently. I'm just saying that at the core of it is your relationship to yourself. You have to start honouring that. You have to love yourself, right? You have to love your body and honour that. Take care of your consciousness and your mind and feed yourself good, nourishing things that are loving and caring and joyful. You can't expect collective consciousness to ever change unless we individually do. And through that process of individuation, which is all about the age of Aquarius that we're moving into the age of individuation. There has to be acceptance that we are different. We have different opinions about things. We have different beliefs. We look different. We are different. There is unity in division. Right? The powers that be will continue to divide us and put us against each other, and through that they can rule us because we will remain divided. We have to unite, firstly to ourselves and then to our brothers and sisters. So there's a little bit of a rant at the end there, but it's so fitting because we are moving into a transformational time for collective consciousness. 10 or 15 years ago, did you know people that did yoga? It was kind of weird. Did you know a kinesiologist? Did you know a Reiki person or a crystal healer? Did you know an astrologist? Now, you know a lot of those people because they're all waking up, right? And we're getting into the energy modalities now, right? Energy, consciousness, it's shifting, we're changing. For the majority of people, the collective consciousness, sometimes there needs to be some sort of shift, some cataclysm or crisis event to shift that and loosen that consciousness. I hope that there isn't. I hope that we can just start to wake the fuck up. Take control of our consciousness, our life, our body, start to radiate, love yourself and radiate that power of love and joy. I know if you had to come to me 10 years ago and said I'd be sitting here in front of you telling you this now, I would have said, get the fuck out of here. I know, but I've lived that life, all right? And now I'm living this life. It's not about regrets. It's not judgment. It's acceptance. Accept yourself, right? And, make a conscious choice. We can do this. We definitely can. I'll see you next time. Thanks.